Right now, in this moment, your mind is spinning stories. Stories about who you are, what you're capable of, what others think about you. These stories, they're the invisible chains holding you back from everything you want to be, everything you could become. But today, right here, you learn how to break free. I've spent decades watching people trap themselves in mental prisons of their own making. Good people, smart people, talented people, all stuck because of the stories they believe about themselves. The mother who wants to start a business but tells herself, I'm not good with numbers. The young man who dreams of love but believes I'm not attractive enough. The artist who never shares their work because I'm not ready yet. Every single one of these limitations exists only in their minds. Your life changes the moment you realize this truth. Most of your problems, most of your pain, most of your limitations come from the stories you tell yourself. Not from reality, not from facts, not from truth, just from stories. Stories you've created, stories you've inherited, stories you've accepted without question. Think about it. Right now, you're carrying around thousands of stories in your head. I'm too old to start over. I'm not the kind of person who can speak in public. I'll never be able to afford my dream home. They probably don't like me. Each of these stories feels real. Each feels true. Each feels like it's protecting you from something. But they're all just thoughts you've practiced so many times they feel like facts. Let me tell you about Sarah, a woman I met last year. She came to me completely convinced that she couldn't be successful because she didn't finish college. That was her story. She'd been telling it to herself for 20 years. But here's what's interesting. While she was telling herself this story, she had already built a profitable small business, raised 3 wonderful children, and was respected in her community. Her story about needing a college degree to be successful wasn't protecting her. It was blinding her to the success she'd already created. Or take Michael, a talented musician who spent 15 years telling himself he was too old to pursue music seriously. He started believing this story when he was 25. Think about that. He decided he was too old at 25 and then spent 15 years proving himself right by not taking action. When he finally let go of this story at 40, he released his first album within a year. The only thing that had stopped him for all those years was a story in his mind. These stories we tell ourselves, they're like colored glasses we never take off. When you wear red glasses, everything looks red. When you wear I'm not good enough glasses, everything you do looks inadequate. When you wear people can't be trusted glasses, everyone looks untrustworthy. The glasses aren't showing you reality. They're showing you your stories about reality. Your mind is constantly creating stories to make sense of the world. That's its job. But somewhere along the way, you forgot that you are not your mind. You are not your thoughts. You are not your stories. You are the awareness that can observe these stories. You are the space in which these stories appear and disappear. Think about your childhood. Remember when you played freely, laughed easily, made friends without wondering what they thought of you? What happened? Stories happened. Year after year, you collected stories about who you are, what you can and cannot do, what's possible and impossible for you. Each story became a brick in the wall you built around your potential. But here's what's beautiful. Just as you learn these stories, you can unlearn them. Just as you accepted these limitations, you can let them go. Just as you built these walls, you can take them down. Not through force, not through struggle, but through something much simpler, through awareness. When you become aware of a story, it begins to lose its power over you. It's like turning on the light in a dark room. The darkness doesn't fight back. It simply disappears. Your limiting stories are like that darkness. They exist only because you haven't yet turned on the light of awareness. Let me show you how this works in real life. Next time you hear yourself think, I can't, pause and ask, is that true? Or is that just a story I'm telling myself? When you think they won't like me, pause and ask, do I know that for sure? Am I making assumptions? When you think, I always mess things up, pause and ask, always, really? Or is that just a story I practice? These simple questions begin to create cracks in the foundation of your limiting stories. And through these cracks, light begins to shine. Through these cracks, new possibilities begin to appear. Through these cracks, your true nature, which is unlimited, peaceful, and free, begins to emerge. Your stories about the past keep you stuck in old patterns. I tried and failed before. I've always been this way. That's just how my family is. But the past exists only in your memory, only in your stories about it. This moment, right now, it is fresh, new, full of possibilities. Your past doesn't define your future unless you let your stories about the past control your present actions. Your stories about the future keep you anxious and afraid. What if I fail? What if they reject me? What if I'm not ready? But the future exists only in your imagination, only in your stories about it. This moment, right now, is where your power lies. Your future isn't determined by your fears about it, but by your choices in this moment. Your stories about yourself keep you small. I'm not creative. I'm bad with money. I'm too sensitive. But who you are is far bigger than any story you can tell about yourself. You are not your successes or your failures. You are not your talents or your limitations. You are not your past or your future. You are the infinite awareness in which all these stories appear and disappear. Think about how much energy you spend maintaining your stories, defending them, proving them right, finding evidence for them. Imagine what you could do with all that energy if you simply let the stories go. Imagine how much lighter you would feel. Imagine how much clearer you could think. Imagine how much more freely you could move through life. When you let go of your stories, something magical happens. You start seeing reality as it is, not as your stories tell you it is. People appear as they are, not as the characters in your mental movies. Opportunities become visible that your stories had been hiding from you. Life becomes simpler, clearer, more peaceful. Your relationships transform when you let go of your stories about them. Without the story, they should understand me better. You can communicate more clearly. Without the story, they don't appreciate me. You can see the appreciation that's already there. Without the story, I'll get hurt again. You can love more freely. Your work transforms when you let go of your stories about it. Without the story, I'm not qualified enough. You can apply for that promotion. Without the story, I'm not creative. You can share your ideas. Without the story, I'm not ready. You can start that business now. Your health transforms when you let go of your stories about it. Without the story, exercise is hard. You can enjoy moving your body. Without the story, I can't lose weight. You can make healthy choices naturally. Without the story, I'm always tired. You can find energy you didn't know you had. But most importantly, your relationship with yourself transforms. Without the constant commentary of self-judgment, without the endless stories about what's wrong with you, without the continuous mental chatter about how you should be different, peace arises naturally. Happiness bubbles up spontaneously. Love flows freely. You might be thinking, but my stories protect me. They keep me safe. They help me avoid mistakes. Look closely at this belief. Has avoiding life really kept you safe? Has staying small really protected you? Has believing limiting stories about yourself really helped you grow? True safety doesn't come from hiding behind stories. It comes from being strong enough to face reality as it is. True protection doesn't come from limiting yourself. It comes from being wise enough to learn from experience. True growth doesn't come from believing stories about your limitations. It comes from challenging those limitations and discovering what's possible. Here's a powerful truth. You don't need to replace negative stories with positive ones. You don't need to fight your stories or force them to change. You just need to see them for what they are, stories. Not truth, not reality, just stories. When you see this clearly, letting go happens naturally. Every time you catch yourself in a story, simply pause. Notice the story. Notice how it makes you feel. Notice what it makes you do or not do. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. Don't make it wrong. Just notice it. This simple act of noticing begins to loosen the story's grip on you. Your stories are like clouds passing through the sky of your mind. The sky, your true nature, is always clear, vast, and peaceful. The clouds, your stories, are temporary visitors. You don't need to fight the clouds or push them away. You don't need to grab them or hold on to them. You can simply watch them come and go. When you let go of your stories about what's possible for you, your natural creativity emerges. When you let go of your stories about what others think of you, your natural confidence shines through. When you let go of your stories about what you deserve, your natural abundance flows freely. Think about children. They live completely in the present moment until they learn to create stories. They don't worry about looking silly when they dance. They don't hold back their laughter because it might be too loud. They don't question their worth because someone didn't play with them. They simply live, simply express. You can return to that natural state of freedom, not by becoming childish, but by becoming childlike in your ability to let go of stories and experience life directly. Each moment is fresh, new, and full of possibilities when you're not viewing it through the lens of your stories. The practice is simple, but it requires dedication. Each time you catch yourself in a story, each time you notice yourself creating drama or complications in your mind, simply pause, take a breath, come back to this moment. Let the story go. Do this again and again, day after day, moment by moment. Start with small stories. Maybe the story that you always need coffee to wake up, or the story that you can't speak up in meetings, or the story that you're not a morning person. Question these small stories, test them. See what happens when you let them go. As you practice with small stories, you'll build the confidence to tackle bigger ones. The story that you're not worthy of love, the story that you'll never be successful, the story that you're too damaged to heal. These bigger stories might have deeper roots, but they're still just stories. They still lose their power when exposed to the light of awareness. Your body will tell you when you're caught in a story. Notice the tension in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach, the shallow breathing, the racing heart. These physical sensations are signs that you're believing a story that isn't serving you. When you notice these signs, pause, breathe, come back to this moment. Let the story go. The peace you're seeking isn't hiding. It's not far away. It's not something you need to achieve or earn. It's right here, right now, underneath all your stories about why you can't be peaceful right now. Let those stories go, and peace reveals itself naturally, like the sun emerging from behind clouds. Your story's about time. Never having enough, always being behind, life passing too quickly. These two are just stories. When you let them go, you'll find that time expands. You'll feel less rushed, more present, more able to enjoy each moment as it comes. The world needs you. The real you, not the version of you that's buried under layers of stories and beliefs. When you let your stories go, you free not only yourself, but also everyone around you. Your light shines brighter, your love flows more freely, your gifts express themselves more naturally. Notice how your stories about others create separation and conflict. They should be different. They don't understand me. They're doing it wrong. When you let these stories go, compassion arises naturally. You see that everyone is doing their best, just like you. Everyone is dealing with their own stories, just like you. Your stories about success and failure keep you stuck in patterns of striving and disappointment. But success isn't about achieving certain things or becoming a certain way. True success is being free enough to express your gifts without the limitation of story. True success is being present enough to enjoy your life without the barrier of mental commentary. The choice is always yours. In each moment, you can believe your stories and suffer, or you can question them and be free. You can hold on to them and stay stuck, or you can let them go and grow. You can live in the prison of your mental narratives, or you can step into the freedom of reality. Remember, you're not trying to empty your mind or never have another thought. You're simply learning to see thoughts and stories for what they are, mental constructions that you can choose to believe or not believe, hold on to or let go of. The power lies not in having no stories, but in being free to choose which stories you engage with. Your stories about spirituality and growth might be the hardest to let go of. I need to be more evolved. I should be more peaceful. I'm not doing this right. But even these are just stories. True spirituality isn't about becoming something different. It's about letting go of all the stories that hide what you already are. The time is now. The place is here. The only thing required is your willingness to question your stories, to hold them lightly, to let them go when they no longer serve you. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You don't need to wait until you've figured everything out. You can start right now with whatever story is present in your mind. Every breath is an opportunity to let go. Every moment is a chance to see clearly. Every experience is an invitation to drop your stories and return to the simplicity and peace of what is. Your natural state, beneath all stories, beyond all mental noise, is peace, joy, and freedom. Let go. Be free. Live true. The happiness and peace you seek are waiting for you in the space beyond your stories. They're not something you need to create or achieve. They're what remains when you stop believing every story your mind creates. As you wake up each morning, notice the stories that start playing in your mind. I'm not a morning person. I hate Mondays. Today's going to be difficult. These early morning stories set the tone for your entire day. But what if you could start fresh? Without these old patterns, what if you could meet each morning with the innocence of a child, free from all the stories about how the day should or shouldn't be? I remember meeting a woman who had spent 30 years believing she couldn't sing, not because she had any physical limitation, but because her third-grade teacher told her to mouth the words during the school choir. One comment became a story that silenced her voice for 3 decades. When she finally questioned this story and started singing in her car, then in her shower, then in a community choir, she discovered not only that she could sing, but that singing brought her immense joy. This is the power of letting go of your stories. It's not just about removing limitations. It's about discovering the joy, freedom, and possibilities that have been there all along, hidden behind the stories you believe. Your family stories are some of the most powerful ones you carry. We've always been poor. Nobody in our family goes to college. We're not the kind of people who... These stories pass down through generations, like unwanted inheritances, limiting not just you, but potentially your children and their children. But you can be the one who breaks the chain. You can be the one who says that's just a story, and it stops with... Money stories run particularly deep in most people's minds. Money is hard to earn. Rich people are unhappy. I'm bad with finances. These stories shape every financial decision you make, every opportunity you take or don't take, every risk you avoid or embrace. But money is just a tool, neither good nor bad. When you let go of your stories about it, you can use it wisely, earn it honestly, and enjoy it freely. Look at your relationships. How many of them are suffering because of the stories you're carrying? The colleague you avoid because of a story about what they think of you. The family member you can't forgive because of a story about what they should have done differently. The potential friend you never approach because of a story about not being interesting enough. When you let these stories go, relationships become simpler, clearer, more authentic. Your body carries stories too. Stories about being too fat, too thin, too weak, too old, too ugly, too different. These stories affect not just how you feel about your body, but how you treat it, how you move it, how you present it. But your body doesn't care about your stories. It simply wants to move, to breathe, to live, to express. When you let go of your stories about your body, you can finally inhabit it fully, appreciate it truly, and care for it naturally. Some of you are carrying stories about time. There's never enough time. I'm running out of time. It's too late for me. But time is not what your stories say it is. Time is not your enemy. Time is simply the space in which life unfolds. When you let go of your stories about time, you discover that you have exactly the time you need. Your work life is probably filled with stories. I'm not qualified enough. I don't deserve success. Nobody respects my work. These stories hold you back from giving your best, from taking chances, from enjoying what you do. But work is simply the way you contribute your gifts to the world. When you let go of your stories about work, you can focus on the contribution itself, on the value you create, on the difference you make. Think about your creative life. How many projects have you not started? How many ideas have you not shared? How many dreams have you not pursued because of stories? I'm not creative enough. It's all been done before. Nobody would be interested. These stories keep your gifts locked inside you. But creativity doesn't care about your stories. It simply wants to flow through you, to express itself through you, to manifest through you. Your spiritual life might be burdened with stories too. I'm not evolved enough. I should be more peaceful. I'm doing it wrong. But true spirituality is simply about being present with what is without the overlay of stories. When you let go of your stories about how spiritual you should be, true spirituality emerges natural. Health and wellness become so much simpler when you let go of your stories about them. I can't lose weight. Exercise is hard. Healthy food doesn't taste good. These stories make everything harder than it needs to be. Your body knows how to be healthy. When you let go of your stories about health, you can listen to your body's wisdom and follow it naturally. Even your stories about happiness keep you from being happy. I'll be happy when I can't be happy until happiness doesn't last. But happiness is your natural state. It's what remains when you let go of all your stories about why you can't be happy right now. Your stories about other people's success keep you stuck in comparison and jealousy. They had it easier. They're just lucky. They must be struggling behind the scenes. But everyone's path is different. When you let go of your stories about other success, you can focus on your own path, your own growth, your own expression. Fear is just a collection of stories about what might go wrong. I might fail. I might get hurt. I might look foolish. But the future exists only in your stories about it. When you let go of these stories, you can respond to life as it actually is, not as your fears imagine it might be. Some of you are carrying stories about love. I'm not lovable enough. Love always ends in pain. I need someone to complete me. But love is not what your stories say it is. Love is your natural state. When you let go of your stories about love, you discover that you are love itself, expressing itself in countless ways. Your stories about meaning and purpose might be keeping you stuck. I need to find my purpose. I should be doing something more meaningful. My life doesn't matter. But meaning isn't something you find. It's something you create in each moment by being fully present, fully alive, fully expressed. Even your stories about letting go of stories can become obstacles. I'm not doing it right. It should be happening faster. I'll never be free of my stories. Notice these two are just stories. Let them go too. The practice of letting go becomes easier with time, but you never graduate from it. Each day brings new opportunities to notice stories, question them, and let them go. Each moment offers a fresh chance to choose between believing your stories. Your stories about the future can be particularly sticky. What if it doesn't work out? What if I make the wrong choice? What if I'm not ready? But the future exists only in your imagination. When you let go of your stories about it, you can respond to life as it actually is right now. Notice how your stories create separation between you and others. They're different from me. They wouldn't understand. They're not on my level. When you let these stories go, you discover the basic human connection that's always there beneath the stories. Your stories about the past can keep you stuck in regret or resentment. I should have done it differently. They shouldn't have treated me that way. I've wasted so much time. But the past exists only in your memory. When you let go of your stories about it, you can live fully in this moment. Some of you are carrying stories about worthiness. I need to prove myself. I need to earn love. I need to be perfect. But worthiness is not something you earn. It's what you are. When you let go of your stories about worthiness, you discover that your stories about success and failure can keep you trapped in endless striving. I need to achieve more. I'm not doing enough. I'm falling behind. But success isn't what your stories say it is. When you let go of these stories, you can pursue what truly matters to you, regardless of how others define success. The practice of letting go is not about reaching some perfect state where you never have another story. It's about developing the awareness to see your stories for what they are, the wisdom to question them when they arise, and the willingness to let them go when they don't serve you. Remember, every story you believe limits you in some way. Every story you hold on to becomes a barrier between you and life as it actually is. Every story you defend keeps you stuck in patterns that may have served you once but no longer do. The invitation is always the same: to notice your stories, to question them gently, to let them go naturally. Not through force, not through struggle, but through the simple recognition that they are just stories, not truth. Your true nature. Beneath all stories, beyond all mental noise, is peace, joy, and freedom. This is not something you need to create or achieve. It's what remains when you let go of all your stories about who you are and how life. The time is now. The place is here. The opportunity is this moment. Will you believe your stories and stay stuck, or will you question them and be free? Will you hold on to them and suffer, or will you let them go and grow? The choice is yours, and you can make it right now.